Hello, how you guys doing? I hope you're doing well out there. James here. I'm going to be with you in a minute. I recently saw something that really came to my mind. And one of the things I try to be more inventive with my channel. And of course, for the people who view my selection on black soldiers, black farmers, and certain other things. And it's not to be disparaging other people or trying to, promote one people over another people. It's just that, I'm an American and I'm a black man, and hey, you just selected to pick the topic that maybe there's things that other black people may not know, and some that do. And during this time of the year, of course, February is Black History Month. And as a black person, no matter where you are here in the States, that you should inspire to do something more. And you need to be positive because we live in a sub-racist society as well as indirect racist society. And every time of the year, like recently for Black History Month, somebody went to a school and they took a picture of an orangutan with a watermelon. And of course that raises up, and you got people putting on blackface, things like that. And then you got young black children getting picked on. Like any other children that get picked on from, but like any other religion or race. But they particularly get, black children are likely to get kind of, picked up, can't pull out from their peers. And there's things and then after a while, that settle into something because they start wondering, especially when they go through racist stuff that they don't understand. So they need something to aspire to because of their complexion. Because we live in a subconscious and racist society that think that every certain ethnic groups of people are not all level. They're individuals out of the group of people, but overall, when it comes to their actions and what people do, they tend to mock black people. Are one of the most mocked cult people just because they pigmentation all over the planet. I mean, you from blackface to buffoonery things online. And after a while, as a black person, some black people are strong, but some black people start feeling insecure about themselves. And they start thinking, then some black people start developing self-hate behind it. And there's some that do, and some black people even want to the point they don't want to be black no more. They be trying to scrub their skin off. It's like, why? Because they think they conditioned to see what was around them. And when you get into a certain environment in America, and when you're the only black person, you're subconsciously, you're being programmed in some kind of way. Even though some people can do it sarcastically, what's so-called satire, and there's some people that do it intentionally. And especially your children, or it could be young adult, can hit their self-esteem. And so therefore you got to break away from and be around your own people. And this is something that I had to personally do myself to understand who are you as a people. Even though you just it's all about flesh, but subconsciously we live in this world, and we live in one of the places in the world as black people that we constantly, no matter what, we don't do nothing to nobody, harm nobody, but yet you're the most mocked people on the planet. So after a while, it does something. So Black History is like, because people say, why is Black History Month? It should be American history. Well, let me tell you why black people, to people who think like this, well, it should be American history. Why do we have to have black history? Well, it should, like any other history, shouldn't Hispanics celebrate their own month? Shouldn't Asians and Indians or Caribbean people, Middle Eastern people, shouldn't they celebrate what they accomplished and what they've done? Because every group of people, Native American, and other people that contribute something to the society. But and there's people that are live and been third or fourth, fifth generation that we don't know about. I mean, there's only so much they can tell you, but it takes they take their people to tell you, and it's more appropriate because that's their culture. But anyway, when it comes to black people, it's not that we try and take the most or we try to take the least. It's just that there's a divine hatred, and from passed down on black people for all the way down to the children. So what the younger people are going to need something strong to look at. So when they get up in the morning, they can see what they're going to look like and what they have something that God put on the inside, just like any other race of children. But in America, you know, if your parents is one they have to constantly instill that, because you in what they call a white supremacist system, and so you get it. You got to be strong, and it's, sometimes it can wear on you. So what made me, that's why Black history, because really you have young black people, what they said statistically commit suicide because they don't understand. And if they don't understand, they start being ashamed. Then you put them in school where the kids are picking on them because they've been somebody out there been conditioned to say that a certain demographic of people are cursed to their skin. So that's why black people do that to those people out there. So anyway, that's to the people like, oh, we all Americans, and yeah, and people do get picked on, and other people got a great history, and that's why I made this in this video. But black people need to be reassured that, and hopefully some black youth will see it. So when they see who they are, no matter how light skinned, the dark skinned, nappy head, and all these things, no matter how dark and ethnic African you look, you still, with how much melanin you got, you still are a creative being. And that's why. And so wow. First, we're going to start with this little story, just on PBS. It says, Black blood bank inventor's daughter said the healthcare iniquities and her father fought still exist to this day. Fair use.
Of the model that he has become for young people. Blood is the important part of his research, of course, and what he discovered, and what he researched with very, very careful eye was how whole red blood could be preserved and refrigerated, and how plasma, the yellow substance taken from blood without cells, could be dried and reconstituted. That was so important because during the war, and we were now in the middle of the war, and our soldiers were dying on the battlefields, and you could not administer whole red blood on the battlefields because it had to be refrigerated. So plasma was the answer to that. And the plasma was reconstituted on the battlefield, and many soldiers' lives were saved as a result of that.
Your father's sister, your aunt, died of the flu during the 1918 pandemic. What was that loss like for him?
My father Elsie's sister died in 1918 from the flu epidemic. She was the second child. She was my father's partner, and her death was devastating to him. He was born in 1904. She was born very shortly thereafter. So this is a teenager with a younger sister. He was devastated by it. The result of that was that my father decided that he wanted to be in medicine, and that became his drive.
5% of doctors in the U.S. are black. How do we get more black people going into these roles? I know there's a lot of barriers, so can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, of course, there are barriers in terms of cost. The cost of medical training is tremendous. But the medical delivery system is changing now because there are actually too few doctors being produced of any stripe. And thus there is more healthcare delivery system that is being devolved into nurse practitioners, for example. So I think that part of it is that it's not just physicians. It is also people in the healthcare delivery system, for example, the nurse practitioners. There are clinics that need to be in the African American community that are being very proactive.
Since your father's time, not much has changed about the way black people are treated by the healthcare system. What do you think he would say if he was still here?
I can almost quote from one of the paragraphs that I found of my father, which said that the single most important medical problem in this country was the adequate treatment of Negroes in the country in terms of access to healthcare delivery system. He said that in 1940. This is now 2020. The issue is the same. The healthcare delivery system has not matured to understand that healthcare delivery at the site, in the place where people are who don't have income and don't have education, who don't have sufficient income and don't have sufficient education. We now understand the implicit biases that occur when you don't have people who are culturally similar. And even if they're not culturally similar when they begin, they need to be culturally similar if they're going to treat people who are black and brown.
I totally agree with that message, because you have a lot of people that come there and they really don't care when it comes to black and brown people. So that's really interesting that she mentioned it, and that was she was that was the man who fed, that's his granddaughter, I believe, or daughter, that invented the plasma. And that would be something that if they would build up another black hospital with black doctors and black nurses and things, and they can run it, if they would build more across the country. But again, this is just specifically, and you, here's another, you probably know about, most people have taught about the black text. One is Louis Latimer from 1928, invented the light bulb. uh, Katherine Johnson. I believe this was the woman that figured out the math to help the space mission. You know, when they went up in space. This woman designed the home security system. This woman. So, look, fair use. See what they.
When we look back at the history of engineering in late 19th century America, big names jump out at us like Thomas Edison or Alexander Graham Bell. However, there is one man who connects these figures together, someone who worked with them on some of the most famous inventions, and in some cases improved on their advancements, but sadly, he's not a household name. Meet Lewis Howard Latimer, the man who played an important role in Edison and Bell's historic work, and whose inventions have impacted our lives in more ways than we know. Lewis Howard Latimer was born on the 4th of September 1848 in Chelsea, Massachusetts, and was the youngest of 4 children born to George and Rebecca Latimer. 6 years prior to Lewis's birth, his parents had been slaves in Virginia. They managed to escape and sought freedom in neighbouring Boston, but shortly after arriving, George was recognised as a fugitive and jailed. The arrest was protested vigorously by the community. There was a trial, and the attempts to recapture George and return him to Virginia caused considerable agitation in Boston. When the trial judge ruled that Latimer still belonged to his Virginia owner, an African-American minister paid $400 for his release. Although George was now a free man, he was still extremely poor, working as a barber, paper hanger, and in other odd jobs to support his wife, 3 sons, and their daughter. With this very humble background, Lewis Latimer's family could only afford a few years of grammar school for him and his siblings. He still developed a keen interest in the arts, but especially in drawing, a skill that would benefit him hugely throughout his life. By the time of his adolescence, the Civil War had engulfed America, and in 1864, at the age of 16, Lewis enlisted in the Union Navy. At the close of the war, Lewis was honourably discharged and secured employment as an office boy with the patent law firm Crosby & Gould. Keen to advance himself and utilising his interest in drawing by closely observing draftsmen at work and reading books on the subject, Latimer taught himself mechanical drawing. His perseverance and passion paid off, and Lewis eventually managed to become chief draftsman at the firm during his 11 years. In these years, Lewis met and married Mary Wilson, whom he would also go on to father 2 daughters with. Post-Civil War America saw a huge increase in inventions. Patents were being secured by their thousands as industry and industrialization was booming. Lewis secured his first patent in 1874 for the water closet, an improved toilet system for railroad cars, and in 1876, Lewis was hired by Alexander Graham Bell. Bell was working on his telephone invention and was in a race to get a patented design before anyone else registered a similar device. Latimer's expertise in draftsmanship meant that on the 14th of February 1876, Bell's telephone patent was filed just a few hours earlier than Bell's rival inventor, Elisha Gray. If it had not been for Latimer's expertise and knowledge, Bell may not have had the fame that he still holds in the world to this day. Alexander Graham Bell was not to be the only famous inventor Latimer would work closely with in his career. In 1880, Latimer began to work as a mechanical draftsman for Hiram Maxim, founder of the US Electric Lighting Company and fierce competitor to Thomas Edison. Here, Latimer learned so much about light bulbs that by 1881, along with Joseph Nichols, he registered a patent for a light bulb with a carbon filament. This was a major improvement on Edison's original paper filament, which would burn out very quickly. Shortly afterwards, he received another patent for the process of manufacturing carbons, which was an improvement on the method for the production of the carbon filaments in light bulbs. With his knowledge and expertise in this field, he was eventually hired by the Edison Electric Light Company in 1884. Here, he worked closely with Edison and became his patent investigator and expert witness, protecting Edison's patents and inventions against imitators. In Impressed with Latimer's technical knowledge, Edison encouraged Latimer to write his first book, Incandescent Electric Lighting, a practical description of the Edison system. Latimer would also go on to become one of the charter members of the Edison Pioneers, where he was the only African American member of this highly prestigious group. Latimer's inventing talents weren't limited to light bulbs. In January 1886, he registered a patent for an early air conditioning unit apparatus for cooling and disinfecting. In many ways, this invention can be seen as the grandfather of the modern air conditioning unit. He also obtained a patent for locking racks for hats, coats and umbrellas. Although this invention is now fairly obsolete with our modern fashion, in Latimer's days, this invention did see lots of use in restaurants, theatres and office buildings. Latimer remained with Edison's company throughout the years as it merged with other companies to form General Electric, the same company that's still active today. He continued his work in the legal department until 1911, where he spent the rest of his career as a patent consultant to law firms. As a true Renaissance man, Latimer managed to pursue his love of the arts alongside his scientific career. He was a keen poet, playwright, painter and lute player. He was also very active in the Unitarian Church and taught mechanical engineering and English to new immigrants coming into America. Lewis Latimer came from so little during a time in history where he was a second-class citizen, and it was through his hard work and determination that he managed to rise up and make important advancements in many technologies that are still in use today. Although not as much of a household name as his contemporaries or colleagues, he truly deserves a place alongside them.
And that's something, how you're a second-class citizen just because of pigment of your skin. And that was the norm back then. And they had, or they were sometimes, they would steal patents from black inventors. And this is the reason why it counts. Because who's going to tell the story? And you have a lot of new black inventors today. You have young black people still. These are who this is who you descend from. This is who you descend. That's is in you. It could be in your family. It could be among. If you're African American, you never know. But if you leave it up to them, leave it up to mainstream, it would be ever heard of scrapping history, and don't really kind of don't want to talk about it. This is another website. Oh shit. Hold on. This is called 30 Black Heroes Around the World. Around the world, you may not know Queen Nanny. Is Queen Nanny is a sorry about that. Phone just dropped. Solon Brothers, inmates at California, Claudette Coffin, Arturo Schumberg, doing Shirley Chisholm, Gaspar Yenga from some Gambian, I'm sorry. Rebecca Lee Kremper, Pierce Labumba, Victoria Tayaya Matu, James Cohn, Fatima Barat, Stokely Carmichael, Jane Burness, Esteban Otez, Evelyn Scott, Robert Smalls, Queen Zunga, Westfield Lamb, Mary Kenner, Ignatius Macho, Rosetta Clemente, Matthew Henson, Maria Rodriguez de Vala. Hope I'm saying these names right. Frederick McKinley Jones, Forte White, Jimmy Ortonada Gonzalez, Bessie Coleman, Magruton Farrell, Victoria Mente Cruz. Wow. And I guess this is on a YouTube called Talk About, but that's these people are the 30 black heroes from around the world that you don't, from all over the world, that you may not know about. Could be from Latin America to Africa, Brazil, probably different places, wherever is black people at. And one thing about it, black people been always ridiculed and mocked on TV. But yet, for the people that they ridiculed and mocked, they were human enough to make these things, right? But you would think that if we tell it from the white supremacist point of view, you would never know this, because they'll give you a little bit of this, but they don't. There's more to your story if you're a black person. There's one video called, one page called, Black Men and Iron Horses. That seems pretty interesting. It shows sample video here. Okay, sound. I guess that was it. When they say they give you a sample, they give you a sample. That's it. Nope, you don't get no more than that. Like dang. Okay. Let's go to another website. But there were black people in medicines. Like I. This is Black History Month. This is also on YouTube channel. I don't know if I can play this, but this give you the history of African Americans. So it's on the YouTube, so I don't know if I can play that or not. I don't want to get a copyright. No, YouTube is, man. But yeah, black people have made things around the world that they don't know about. And so tell your kids why they hate you so much, because when you invent something, you advance in it, and therefore white supremacy is the kind of this logic and say that Well, Negroes, all they did was just was slaves. We told them what to do, and that's it. You know, they moved up. They couldn't read. They couldn't write. They couldn't do this, but yet you have all these different inventors. So this guy debunked all that, and then they didn't. And then when black people wouldn't, so they tried to keep them from reading. And then when they gave them books and things, they didn't give them the adequate books. So they try to always keep black people significantly black, because in once God give the God-given ability that African Americans have, they would dominate. That's why they was able to build up black towns. So, and throughout this country, and there's black towns that are heard of, and there's black towns that no one heard of. But these are the black inventors of STEM who changed the world. This is just a picture of them right here. Stem cell research. So you have to my black subscribers on there. This you can show your children this and tell them this, if they want to go in, this is what they could be. They're the future, because these people was the pioneer. And so, yeah, they didn't want black people, and I mean, it's like, man. And so when black people started having their own hospitals like they did in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and different places where they had black towns, besides, of course, they had black farmers, shoemakers, black men that worked the railroad, that invented things. It was something recently, I didn't even know this. There was the black, the lawnmower? That was invented by a black man. Did you know that? The blade. So I didn't even know that. There was a black man in 1858 invented the lawnmower. The very lawnmower you see to this day. But see, white supremacy is not going to show you that. You got to dig that up. Because it's American. Yeah, it's American that we can put these dark people. We'll give them their shine when they're practically 30 feet under the ground. But that's what it is. So, you black people, show your kids this. This is the kind of stock you came from. Tell your kids this is where you come from. It's in your kids. It's in your kids. Just as well as any, like the white kids, the Asian kids, it's in your kids. Hone whatever gift that is, whatever invention that they are in. And I'm glad that there's some young black kids are stepping out on their inventions in America and around the world. God put it in you, just like He put it in the people throughout their past in the most harshest conditions. And for the people out there, why is it Black History Month? That's why. Because if someone don't tell it, they'll do like they try to do over in Egypt. They'll try to erase it out of history, or they'll reclassify it. Because that's what white supremacy do. They don't want to tell they want to tell it on TV, through commercials. And then when they show black history, it don't be legitimate. It be watered down. That's why it take black American actors to tell their own story. And I think that black Americans should encourage other ethnic groups to do the same, who are the greatest inventors among their other people. Even no matter if you come from the islands, or you come from Latin America or the Middle East or anywhere, because we don't know. In the land of white supremacy, they're not going to tell you. But this gives you This gives you a page of the different black inventors right here. The products that they made. Wow. This tells you the products that they made. Celebrating African American inventors. Just have a list. I don't know if you guys can see this or not. But there are a list of African American inventors. So the whole point of me showing this video, that no matter what they tell your child, because they try to dumbify them down, put them on Ritalin, tell them that they can't learn coping skills. This is what they've done to black people, and to a certain degree. Even if they had a learning disability, how many of these people? One of these people could have had a learning disability. It's like it's over, you know what I mean? But somebody had to overcome these things. But just like they did, they had racism, and some of their patents was even stolen away from them. It was stolen because they didn't want Negroes to get inspired, and they're afraid of Negroes. There's certain people are afraid, and so when black people invent something like they from then to now, you ever know that's like, why are you guys doing? Why is it can it be for everybody? Because in history and time, it was stolen from black people. That's why some black people feel the way they do. You will steal it again and reinvent it around. You will steal it again, and then you like you go over to Egypt and paint the tombs and things. Mess with the old books, took out some things in the old books and gave it. That's the reason why. Like there was actually a Bible somewhere, an archive of what they used to take the slaves that come in the country, and they took out. I forgot where this was at, but they took out the pages so when they taught the slaves, the descendants of the people, they didn't want them knowing certain scriptures in the Bible. So they would have an overseer to teach them what to say in their churches, and tell them what it was on how to be a good servant and to be a good slave. This is fact. So that's why black people have always been told, it's almost like you have to govern over these people, govern. Even to this day, you have to, we have other things, but you are the inventors. So if someone come to me like, why are we separating between black and white? Why can't it be all American history? Because when it comes to black history, like history was times before, they whited it out. That's the reason why. And they do it in certain ways that they don't think black people, the masses of black people are going to pick that up, and don't see the signs on. And I do believe that there's some people are so prejudiced, and I know it's going to sound way off key, but they don't think that we have the interconnection to the Most High, that He gives us insight too on what the enemies do, whether they look like us or opposite of us. Oh, this is something. Now we have something really interesting. I didn't even know this myself. Did you know that there were black tech companies that are African American? according to the Fun Times, there are 5 owned black tech companies that's changing the industry. This one, and you know most tech companies are run by East Asians and white males, and they'll have some African migrants once in a while, but Jartarco, Verdi, Black Nativity, Pop.com, and Calinindia. So yep, you have 5 black tech companies that black-owned tech companies changing the industry, and that's it. And you know that's rare. You don't find too many black tech-owned companies, tech companies, and when you do, like I said, they're usually predominantly white or predominantly East Asian. That's a fact. Running the corporation because they dominate in those areas as far as tech. So this encourages your young people to get into tech because that's the future. If you have children, in my African American audience, you have children that watch this. This is why people like Dr. Claude Anderson was trying to encourage that, because education with tech is competition when it comes to these fields, coding, cyber tech, and everything. And then when you run things, it's your own, and you get a contract. You have your own company, and there are black people out there doing it. But this is something that, what's this? Oh yeah, this is wow. This is a Black History for 2023. This is 32 Black History Ideas at Works. This gives you an idea of the present, what to do. This gives you like a virtual library. And you know, ladies and gentlemen, I know like the Black Wall Street of the past is going to be difficult. But I think for most African Americans, Black Americans, is maybe you have to make the Wall Street a virtual online, and that's the best way for right now, unless you get an area in different parts of the country. And what I learned from watching other people and how the way, like here in Ohio, and you see a certain group like Middle Eastern people, right, or your East Indians. So what they do is that someone purchases that land, and they purchase the land, and they got a couple businesses up in there, and they have the money up in there, and a lot of time you have there are people around in the area because there's so many people working at the other businesses and everything. But and that's how they get into a little plaza, and they get their little and they get into like a mall, and they got a bunch of little businesses up in there, and it gets word of mouth. So that's how they're able to survive in these areas. I made a video a while back showing how in different parts on the outskirts of Columbus, Ohio, they've done this. That this what they constantly do. This what all the second generation immigrants do here. You'll see them have a mechanic business. You see them have a restaurant. You see all in the same, not too far in the same vicinity. A dealership. They'll have some kind of, if it's Latino, they probably got some kind of construction company, along with a food company, landscaping company, and it's centered around that. And I imagine the Middle Eastern people, they do it too. That they got their own, and they got their stores, and they're not too far from each other, and they do business among one another. Black people need to learn to do the same thing. The thing about it is, if you're able to get some land and build up like a little plaza, and put like a restaurant, put like a haircut business, or like a clothing business, and then start from there. Then you get word of mouth. But you kind of do what these other people do, and it's just for your people. That's what they do in the other areas. If you're able to find some land, build the land, and if you can find some black contractors that can help do all the building and everything, and if you want these black people, you black owned, this is the way you would do it. Just start out small and acquire some property and build up, and then do like word of mouth in your neighborhood. Like if you got a partner, that say, hey, maybe you can work something out that you can, something with the rent. You get another mom among a mom and pop who got who made some good restaurant food. You put it in there, and you build it up. If the black neighborhoods would do that, you can form a community. You can form it right there, and it's just be your little spot. Then you have like a block over, you have someone who works on cars. You know what I'm saying? Keep it that, and be business and professional to one another, so your money don't leave your community. That's how smart. That's just a little gem, because that's what probably the other groups of people do. I have witnessed this. Like this one guy that get my car worked on, man, and they eat they cater to everybody. Everybody comes in there, but most of the people they deal with is from different parts of Africa. And so you got one African mechanic shop, another African mechanic shop. The mechanic I deal with is Ethiopian, but that's just using that as an example. Like it could be, and like it'd be like some Nigerian or Ghana or someone other. They come and do business with them, and they make a deal with them. Probably deal among their own Ethiopians or Eritrean people, but that's how they would do it. And black Americans, if we could see that, that's how the other businesses do that. This is how you're gonna be able to make it and support one another. And this is not a video to put down. It's the video to think. This is on Black History Month. If you would go into a brick and mortar business, that's what you should do. And then, like I seen up there in Michigan, how the Arab Americans do it out there. The Arab Americans can be, I don't like calling them Arab. I think that's a racist term. Call them Middle Eastern, because even though they sound similar, other than when you hear them talking to their relatives, but it sounds similar. But it might be 3 different groups of people. Anyway, but what they did was like in Flint, Michigan, and anybody from Flint, Michigan know what I'm talking about. You go down the strip, and you got one of their relatives and one of their friends. They got their name in English. They got their name in their language, and they'll have an insurance person one business owner have a barber shop, one person will have a construction company, and then they go and eat over at the store because they know this person from back in their country, wherever it is, Palestine or Lebanon somewhere, and that's how they roll. And they've been among us, and that's how they do business among their own. Then they got then they bring their contacts, and that's how they bring they truck it. They got people that probably some of their friends or relatives that got trucking firms and things like that. That's how they roll. They able to survive. And then of course, like I said, they came to everybody in the community, to us and other people. But I'm just saying this how even your Arab Americans do this. So this is if black people can get on board, that being that you are the one of the people that are inventors in this country, and know that your past, know that what you could do in the present. So I hope that this message will encourage somebody, but that this is the solution. And then build up your website, use Facebook, and have like a Patreon, and say, hey, I got, for black business owners, come on Patreon, have a YouTube channel, you got a YouTube channel, and build up, and then bring and if you about business and everything, and people, and hope that you get some support. And black people, you need to get behind people like that, because that's what these other groups of people do. It's not about being us versus against them. It's about, if you want to come out of it and be your own thinkers and inventors and creators who God give you to be, what others don't think you can't be. This is the solution you do. That's why Dr. Claude Anderson was pushing that about teaching you, and on Dr. Boyce Watkins, and you have Dr. Claude Anderson, Power of Economics. That's part of economics, and every group practice that group economics. And I mean, it's not like a us versus. You don't have to shade off other people, because I mean, of course, you can serve your business, can do business with everybody, not just your people, of course. But you hire more of your people, like they hire more of their people. Because they feel comfortable with work around their own people. I mean, you go to, I know there's a dollar, like it's like a dollar store here. You go in there, it's mostly Middle Eastern people that work in there. From the manager to everybody stop, and you could tell just by they say something in their language, and everybody goes up in there, of course, and patronizes their business. But that's what they do. If you go, and some of you that maybe like East Indian food, whatever. There's a place up north where I was when I started working for one of these companies. There were like 2 or 3 businesses with these East Indians. One had a restaurant. Then they had inside the restaurant, they had a grocery. They had a market store for them. Inside, they had one thing was the restaurant. They had another thing that they had a grocery and a market and a restaurant inside that side of their place. They still going up there. Then they had another restaurant. Then they got some other things going on up there, and they in a pretty decent area. But here's the key: is to get behind each other. If we can get behind each other like they do, and it was not all that they hired only their own. Most of their own people work for them. Same way you go into the Asian restaurant, they hire other people like Mexicans and other people, but who's running it is them. And see, by us being the least employed, and people think that we least lazy, whatever. That's the what you're gonna do it. That's how you get your respect. And then you spend your dollar for people that they think is lazy, don't want to work, incompetent, whatever. Some people who carry that mindset. This is what you gotta do to show them wrong. Like, boy, because you are the original Americans. You made this mug, and you need to get your respect back. as a people. Get your, and that's what Dr. Claude Andrews was saying. You are the inventors, and some you invent now. Now, and don't rob your people, don't misuse your own people, and so that dollar can flip in your community. Hire your own. And if one idiot don't work out, don't give up on all your black people, because they don't. The other groups of people don't do that. They don't do that. They go to the next person. That's from their group of people. Fact. Before they come to us. So, and like I said, it's not us versus them. I think we can learn from other people. Same way I've seen Hispanics do the same thing. Different Hispanic groups. You know, Dominican mechanics, they got a restaurant, they got family members that own a restaurant. Puerto Ricans do it. Everybody do it. And they work among each other because they bilingual English and Spanish. English and Spanish. I'm just dropping some game to you. That's fact. And if you know somebody, just stand back and watch. You see how, and if you have a friend who speaks Spanish and English, who's Puerto Rican, Dominican, whatever, you'll see what I'm saying. You get a Middle Eastern friend, you'll see. That's how they do business. Group economics. Ain't got nothing to do with being prejudiced. It's about your people home first, and who you connect, and who you relate to. So, yeah, I just wanted to show this video about black inventors that created history and things, and encourage. You know, you have kids that this is what you are. You are the inventors. Your black kids can invent things. It's in them. You never know what gift is in your boy. No matter what that school says or what some idiot says. And encourage them. No matter how you can be dark as night, but God gave you the ability and the melanin to create, just like the people before you. It don't matter. They can do blackface, call you a gorilla, all it, and because they're jealous at you. And black people understood that. Some have the strength to understand that they have to respect you. But with them, if they're so inadequate and illiterate, how is that they inventing things like this? And why are you so jealous at them and doing these things? I'm just saying. But I hope you like this video. Hope you sign it. But yeah, black people, anybody listen to this video, black. That's how the way you're gonna survive. I just throw you some nuggets. Look, if you ever get around some people from a different nation, you go among their people, watch how the way they do group economics. Tell me what you see. No matter if they're Asian, go around some Cambodians or Vietnamese, see how they do business. You go around. Other people, they do other business, but they come first. So every group of people come first. Before all people. Is first come them, then all people. Alright then. So guys, you like this video? Hope you do, and give you some time and encourage your young people. They the next inventors, and hopefully they inspire other people at the groups that tell their history to watch this video. So take care.